Okay, I finished that last corner. Now you can see I have a very cool 3D effect. It almost looks like a little flower. And my pattern's telling me that I'm going to join in my previous color on this next round. So instead of just slip stitching and finishing it off with the green, you're going to slip stitch, so you're going to enter your hook into the same spot where you joined your yarn. And instead of yarning over with your green, what you can do so that you can make an easy color change right now is to join in your previous color. Let me grab it real quick. So just grab part of the yarn, leave a nice long tail for weaving in, lay it over your hook so that you can change it, and just pull it through that spot and then pull it through the yarn on your hook. You can tighten those down. You could even double knot these if you want. I'm a big double knot fan. I probably shouldn't double knot as much as I do, but I like to do it, so I'm just going to cut a little tail. I can usually weave it in to where you can't really see it, so that's my excuse. But take your tail of your new yarn, tail of your old yarn, just do a nice little tight double knot. I keep my hook on there so that I don't pull my new yarn out of place or make my loop too tiny. So I just double knot that and I'll be able to weave that in. Plus it's on the wrong side, and since this is a bag and not a blanket, you're only gonna, well, the pattern that I include with this is for a bag, so you wouldn't see it anyways. But now I am ready for my next round, and you can see that the green lays flat where the purple is nice and three-dimensional, so it's a really neat effect. Plus you have these nice big holes where if you're making the pattern that I include with this motif, it's great for running your yarn through. So you have all these holes that you can run different color yarn through in your bag to separate them. Now we're going to chain 4. So our pattern tells us to go ahead and chain 4. And then treble 5 times in the same stitch where we just joined our yarn. So now we're going to increase this treble 6 together back into 6 trebles. So we have one here, which is the chain 4, and then we're going to treble 5 times. So it's like we're opening it back up. So I'm going to do 5 quick trebles in that spot. And don't worry, no matter how tight you made it, you will still be able to fit your hook in it. Starts to magically open because all of your loops will move around to make room for it. 4. I'm trying to keep my tail out of this. This green tail keeps hopping over my hook. I want to keep it out so I can just sew it in later. Sometimes when you half work in your tails, it makes it hard to sew them in later because they're in kind of weird positions. So I say either sew or crochet them in only or weave them in only to make it easier for you at the end. So now I've opened up my treble 6 together, I've opened it back up, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to skip, it tells me 3 trebles, chain 1, 3 trebles. So basically I'm just skipping this side of my square, and then I'm going to be working into the corner here. So it says work all of these stitches into the chain 2 space at corner. So I'm going to treble 6 times, chain 2 to make another corner, and then treble 6 times again. So I don't do any chains before I get over there, I just start trebling away. And sometimes your loops can get kind of big like that. If you like it, no problem. If you don't like it, just pull it out and kind of hold on to it before you start, and that'll make sure that you pull it close as you work your treble, and it'll keep that loop a little smaller. Totally up to you how you like it to look. It's not that big of a deal. But if you are super particular, like I am sometimes, then you might want to hold on to it a little tighter. So I've got 3 of my first 6. This is considered an intermediate pattern, but it's really just a lot of treble crochets. It's being able to read the pattern that's kind of the intermediate part, because it can get kind of confusing where you're supposed to be putting your hook. Once you watch the video though, you can probably, if you're a beginner that can do treble crochet, you should be able to put this pattern together, because it's really just about where you're putting your hook that's the difficult part. So it's a great challenge for a beginner, and if you're an intermediate then this should be no big deal. So I did my chain 2 to make my corner. Now I'm doing my 6 trebles on the other side. Got 3. Trebles are great because they're very easy to count. You can just count how many posts you have. Usually when I start trebling, I always end up starting with 1 yarn over for quite a few stitches because I'm used to double crocheting mostly. So it takes me a while to get into the habit of doing the double yarn over, so make sure that you're paying attention and not doing double crochets instead of treble. So now I've got that all done. Now it says skip 3 treble, chain 1, 3 treble, which are those stitches that we did here. Now we're back at this spot where we slip stitched, and of course we're going to open up our treble 6 together, so we're going to do 6 trebles into that spot. Again, you can pull your loops tight so they don't stretch out too far from this big jump that we're making. And let me get right in that same spot that I made my slip stitch. And I just kind of pull everything tight so all my loops are the same size, and I start doing my 6 trebles. So that's my pattern for this round. I'm going to 6 treble in my treble 6 together to open that back up, and then I'm going to do in my corner 6 trebles, chain 2, 6 trebles. So I'm going to do that all the way around, and then we'll meet up for round 5. Alright, finished off my last corner. Now I'm finishing round 4 by joining a slip stitch at the top of my chain 4, which was my very first treble crochet, and I'm going to join my new color when I do this, just like I did in the previous round. So I'm going to put my hook through, and the reason that I go at the top, you'll see that these are all joined up at the top here. That's why I'm not joining in a stitch down below. So I want it to look the same, so I'm joining up here at the top of that stitch. So instead of slip stitching with the same color, I'm going to come in with my new color. It's nice pretty gray, and I'm going to lay that over my hook and pull through. And I'm even going to double knot this also, because I have a paranoid fear of all of my ends coming undone after I'm done. So, whoops, keep hitting my camera. Cut off that end and then keep my hook in place. Just double knot that up. Now I'm ready to move on to round 5, and round 5 is going to involve working into round 3. So round 3, remember, is our green round. So when it says round 3, that's what we're looking at, is this green round. So the first thing I'm going to do is chain 1, and then I'm going to single crochet into these 6 treble crochets. So make sure I get both loops. Oops. And make sure you grab your working yarn. Don't grab your tail like I just did, because you're not going to get very far. So let me start that one again. Chain 1 and then begin. See, even us experienced people still mess up from time to time. I get the benefit of doing it on camera so everyone can see. So once I do my 6 single crochets, it tells me to double crochet in the chain 1 space of row 3. So if you remember, we made that little chain 1 spot in between our 3 trebles. So what I'm doing is I'm going to yarn over once for a double crochet, and I'm going to go inside through that chain 1. I'm not going to just catch the chain 1. I'm going to work all the way through the chain 1 space, and I'm catching my my round 4 also. So I'm going to yarn over, pull up the loop, and now I have attached round 3 and round 4 together in this stitch. So I finish off that double crochet, and you can see it's kind of made this fill into that hole that I had. So as I work around, I'm going to be pulling these up so that they fill into those holes that we had there. So then, grab my pattern here. Our next step to do is to single crochet into our next 6 trebles again, and then we're going to make a corner. So we're going to 6 times in here, or in our next 6 stitches, not 6 times in one stitch. Oops, and I did what I do a lot, so you can learn from my mistake. Make sure that when you get this very first treble, its stitch is actually back here. It's not this one. My double crochet kind of covered it. So make sure that when you start off that you're coming and pulling this double crochet over a little so you can find the beginning of that first treble. So that's going to be our very first one. And then we do 5 more. So if you only count 5, you skipped that very first one. So work, unravel, and go back to that first one that you missed. Then for our corner, all we are simply going to do is put 3, we're going to 3 single crochets in that chain 2 spot. And that's kind of what we're going to do all the way around. Every time we come to one of these chain 1s, we're going to double crochet to attach it. Remember, pull your corner over so you can get that first stitch. Do 6 into, basically you're going to single crochet into every treble crochet that you come to. So that's kind of the pattern. Treble crochet in every treble crochet you come to. And when you come to one of these gaps, you're going to double crochet and catch that chain 1 of round 3. So we're going to do that all the way around and just do 3 single crochets in each corner to continue your corner as shown there. So let's keep working around.